Hey everyone, this episode of the Creator Economy Defrag is full of alpha regarding YouTube automation and building passive income streams out of all of your content creation. We also talk about building a team as a content creator, and to supplement this podcast, if you'd like a free guide to help walk you through that process, I've worked with pipeline.gg, the lead creator development platform, to put one together, and it's linked in the show notes. My guest today is Matt Cobuzio, also known as MC Sportshawk, also known as Matt's Crypto, also known as plenty of other things, because Matt has a quite similar history to mine on YouTube. He's 14 years deep into it, and through that time has created over a dozen channels, some of which have videos which have generated 30 million plus views on single videos alone. He thinks about the creator space very similarly to me, and we have some really in-depth technical conversation in this episode, so I hope you enjoy it. How many YouTube channels have you had over the years, do you think? If you had to guess.
So when I click on my little avatar on YouTube right now, it's like a giant log of just
you gotta scroll.
Oh yeah, I have to scroll to get to some of them.
God
I
damn.
would say that they're like actually put work into probably like a dozen or so.
Okay. And of those, how many have lasted more than, let's say, like 6 months?
I would say most of them.
Damn.
Like eight or 10 of them.
Oh my God. Okay.
Yeah.
That's a lot of, because right now I'm expanding into some new content verticals that I'm not normally doing stuff in, more like creator education, the places where this podcast is going to live, stuff like that. And so I'm up to like 4 or so that I'm intending to put some time into.
4 channels?
Yeah, not that I'm all concurrently running as like main important projects. Like my main channel right now, I'm totally happy to coast for the time being.
Yeah.
Which is weird because my main channel has for so long been my baby and been so important to every single day of my life. And now I'm like, I'll post on that in a couple months. Like, it's cool, which is very weird. But
most people be like, what are you doing?
Yeah, well, yeah.
Why are you giving up this like
it is
bread and butter that you have here?
Yeah, and that's a lot of what I want to talk about today. I want to talk about giving up your bread and butter for the sake of trying new creative things that have the earning potential and potential leverage to outclass that original main thing that was your bread and butter for so long.
Yeah.
Right? So let's do a 5-minute history lesson on you. So you started YouTube in
2009.
and that was on the channel
MC Sport Talk.
And that was your main channel for how many years?
Better half of a decade, I'd say. Like, yeah.
Got you.
Somewhere between 8 and 10 years.
Sure. And so you ended up with that being the sort of launch platform for ZWC tournament that you ran, which, fill people in just a little bit, was a Zombies esports tournament.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's what I was going to say. It's a Zombies esports tournament. That's the best way I can describe it.
Yeah.
It would take people from all over the world that were really good at playing zombies and allow them to have like a platform to compete on, you know.
And that
win
was
money.
That was a totally organically produced thing as well.
Yes.
I think is a key detail for it, which was really interesting, is that it was a completely sort of community-driven attempt at creating an esports scene. It was really, really cool. And so that was probably one of the earlier spin-off businesses from the zombie side of things. Is that fair to say? So you also have a production company.
Right.
Did that company start prior to then?
I think the first CWC and the production company were starting kind of around the same time.
Yeah.
But before those things were 2 other things.
Oh, damn. Okay.
Z House.
Oh, fair. Okay.
And during Z House, Top 10 Trends was another channel.
I forgot about that.
Yeah, that's probably like financially the most successful channel I've had.
Yeah, because that one
think.
ended up being sold, right?
Yeah, I didn't even think about So, but like just advertisement wise, yeah, that made the most money that for me at least. And then we did sell the channel, which not sure if that was the best move or not. But we did.
Well, we can talk about that. So you're a YouTuber of several years, sort of in, let's say 2014, 15, that kind of time, and things are starting to pick up momentum. And then with Call of Duty Black Ops 3. Both of us benefited a lot from all of the hype surrounding that game. It was the following year, 2016, when the first Z House happened, which was a content creator team house before team houses really existed. And that lasted a summer and then came back the following summer, and that was kind of the format. But Top 10 Trends, you say, started prior to Z House or around the same time?
I had the idea, the first Z House.
Yeah, okay.
Actually, I had to be like a year before the first Z House, and I wanted to do it with my roommate at the time.
Yeah.
But he was uninterested. He went on to do his own thing, which is also doing super well. So I asked Pat, who's another Z House member, if he was interested in teaming up with me on the channel. We went in on it almost 50-50 and run the channel together, make content for it, have ideas for it.
What's the conversation like when you're starting a channel with another established YouTuber? Because also at the time, Pat was a pretty big channel.
Yeah.
He was really finding a huge amount of momentum in that period before that game came out. He was just blowing up in a big way. So going into that conversation, was it like, oh, let's just do it 50-50, but then one of you was like, well, I want to take less of a big role in this aspect of things? Or how did you?
Yeah, so it was definitely my idea. I come up with like a whole strategy for it, an outline. Like I kind of pitched him on like, hey, I want to do this thing, but I really want to have a partner in it. There was a couple reasons. One, I wanted to have someone who was able to help get it off the ground, and two, someone who was able to help me strategically with what the channel could be and the content format, and if necessary to help fund it, because the idea was that it's mostly outsourced.
Yeah.
It wasn't going to be a personality channel of ours, so I didn't want him to spend like a bunch of time on it necessarily, and myself either. But I wanted it to be something we can kind of work on together and grow together. So initially, the conversation, I forget what the numbers were, but I was like, it's my idea, and I'll bring it to the table. Like, what do you think is a fair number? I don't remember what he said. I want to say maybe like, he said like 60-40.
Sure.
And I was like, how about we do 51-49? I want to give you as close to 50-50 as possible while still keeping, majority, so I can like have say in what I hope this will be.
Yeah.
But also so that you're as incentivized as possible to contribute like as much as you can to make this thing go. Because I want you to be invested in it as well.
And I guess you knew if he only had 10%, there would be
total
potential for him to be like, well, it doesn't really matter. So.
Yeah. So I don't remember what the number was that he came with, but I definitely said like, let's do 50-50 essentially, except I get the extra 1% so that, because this really was my idea that I came up with.
Yeah.
But I wanted him like as in as I was, more or less. Mm-hmm. And it worked. It worked really well. We both promoted it on our individual channels once or twice. That got it off the ground. And then we had a couple of videos that hit. And then, maybe like 6 months in, we had a couple of videos that really hit. And a lot of the video ideas were his.
Okay.
He really, he had the Pokemon videos that he did something he was interested in, right? So he would do the commentary for those. Some of those went massive. And then we started getting into like Marvel stuff. And I started to try to work with like what big things were coming up. So at the time, Avengers was coming out.
Yeah.
Not Endgame, but the second one, I think. And so we did a video, a bunch of different videos on Marvel characters. And one of those, it was literally an idea I came up with a bunch, and we made the video in probably, I don't know, like 3 days, and it did 12 million views. Like it just cooked. The thumbnail was really good. I found this image that was like perfect for what the title was. Yeah. It's like 10 characters that could defeat Thanos, and it was like him like have scars from like Wolverine, and I was like, oh, that's perfect. So some of those videos just really took off, and then later on we got into doing animations. When Fortnite became big, we were doing like Fortnite animations with popular players at the time like Ninja and Myth, and those did absolutely massive. Those are the biggest videos I've ever made. They have like 32 million views.
Oh my God, I didn't even know they went that high.
Oh yeah, they went nuts.
Jesus.
I remember being at my beach house, and we released the third animation, and it was like the best one of the ones at the time, and I was so excited for it, and it's the first time I've ever gotten over 1 million views in 24 hours. It was like, I was like, this is crazy. Oh my God. It was like.
And those were all on Top 10 Trends?
All Top 10 Trends.
Jesus, man.
Yeah, that channel has some cooker. Like there's several videos over 10 million views. Probably like 4 to 6 videos.
Would the RPM on those have been really bad because they're
most of the RPMs were trash.
Yeah.
Like the typical video, like the average might have been between $2 and $3.
Okay, and so accounting for the fact that this is 2016...
Yeah, at the time
that's
it wasn't
less bad.
It wasn't
then than it sounds like it would be.
Now it's not great. Then it wasn't horrible. Some of the videos did better. I mean, it depends. Like the animations that were short, like the 3-minute ones, did like $1.50. Like they weren't great, but still with that many views, like it definitely made its money back for the cost of the animation. But then I was like, let me get smart about this. We made 3 animations. I'm going to put it in a compilation, like a story.
Of course.
10 minutes, get the mid-rolls in there. Yep. That did way better. So that channel did well as a business. But I said to Pat too from the day one, I was like, this is not an idea that I'm like exponentially passionate about, but it's something that I think is like, at the time, those kind of channels were starting to take off. Like Chucky actually had his own channel like that. And there was a time where Chucky and I were going to join all of the channels we had into like an umbrella company.
Oh.
And we really went through the details on it, but we couldn't come to an agreement on like how we wanted to do it. So we didn't end up doing it. But those channels were popular at the time.
They were. And I feel like it was an interesting era because Chucky obviously has gone on to work so closely with Mr. Beast and has applied so much of the learnings that he had in that time period, jumping on those calls with Jimmy and with his little sort of group of YouTube like data analyst friends. But so many of the learnings of that period have turned into what the YouTube automation kind of genre is today, where you'll see so many people saying, oh, if you can automate a channel and totally outsource it and you never have to touch it, it's like passive income for life and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I don't think that's quite accurate. I think that's a little bit of upselling the dream and downselling the problems and the hurdles that you have to go through. Yeah. But you've got quite a lot of experience in this because you've had top 10 trends, but then you've also had all these other channels since then. I'd love to hear, what do you think of YouTube automation now compared to in 2016? How have you seen that kind of whole world evolve?
Now that I'm thinking about it, just when you said that, I feel like we were too early on 2 things now.
Yeah.
Z House was before the game house, like before the content houses, and it definitely could have been a thing. And then top 10 trends is like exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah.
There's so many faceless automation channels, pulling up my Ferrari with all my YouTube plaque, like that's a thing. And top 10 trends was that exactly. Like it was meant to be outsourced. The team at one point was like 12 to 13 people.
Damn.
They weren't full time, they were all remote, but it was, the whole work ethic behind it was like managing a team well, like getting good people that do good work and managing it, making sure we're consistent, making sure that, like we're meeting criteria, like standards that we want to. And honestly, a lot of the videos weren't nearly as good as they could have been. But at one point we were the team was outputting 2 to 3 videos a day.
Oh my God.
Which is a lot. It took a lot to get to that amount of content. And you need funding to get that to happen in the first place. And we kind of grew it gradually, so it worked. But I definitely think it's way more common now for that to be a thing, like where people are trying to sell this idea, and you can totally do it, but it does take a lot more work than they're making it seem like. It's not like you just hire all these people and say, go do, and then, you have a magic video that works. Like it doesn't work that well. You have to know what you're doing. But I do think the difference between now and then is there's so many more tools. 7 years later, the tools you have now to do the automation, like, I don't think Fiverr was nearly as big of a thing back then. It existed, but it wasn't like as commonplace, and there wasn't as much talent on there, I would say.
For sure.
Like there's so many automation tools with AI, especially now, like in the last 2-3 months, I'm actually considering revisiting this just because there's so many tools that really are going to change the way automation, hiring is almost like less of an issue now.
I think about this a lot because I look at things in my workflow that I've got incredibly efficient at executing through over a decade of experience, and then I see a tool doing it in 10 seconds in what would take me as a complete expert over an hour.
Yeah.
And a lot of people, I see their reaction to AI being, it's awful. Like, how could you? How dare you?
That's right? What Jess thinks.
Right, and
my fiance.
there's a lot of folks out there that feel that way, but I look at it and I think this is going to mean that all of these skills that I've learned are irrelevant in 5 years' time. No one's going to need to do that. And as such, I either need to adopt the technology and adapt to the new paradigm that we're in, or I need to just do something else. And so I see a tool that can cut a video in 10 seconds, and that would normally take me an hour.
Specific kind of video.
Actually, quite a lot of kinds of videos.
Yeah.
For me, the majority of my output, I can...
For this, butter.
Well, it depends. So for this, there's aspects of it that mean that it's not butter, but that's a caveat that we won't get into for now. But there are all these tools out there that have just, like you said, revolutionized the game in 2 months, 3 months, maybe 6 months for some of the slightly earlier ones. I'd love to hear today, if you're building a channel and you've got Fiverr at your disposal and stuff like that, how do you begin to put a team together for this sort of thing? How do you reach out to someone on Fiverr and say, I'm building a channel, I don't just want this one project from you, I want stuff daily. Like, what's the conversation like there?
I feel like, I mean, if they're open to it, you can hire them for, like a monthly salary.
Some kind of retainer.
Yeah, like you're going to give me X deliverables, so like 2 videos a week or 2 voiceovers a week for the whole month, and we'll pay you X amount. And those rates are like, I've seen super low to, what I would expect from a quality VO artist. One of the guys I worked with, his name's Nifty, he's an editor. He's found people that will work for like next to nothing. And I don't even know how he does it. I'm like, where do you find these people? He's like, don't worry about it.
Whoa,
like,
what?
That makes it even more sketchy.
Yeah.
It's like, it's great. Like, it's really helpful because as a business, it helps you get started quicker because you do need to put money up front for these, like for outsourcing stuff.
Right.
So if your price per video ends up being $150 instead of $400, like you can do the math. You can make, almost 3 times the amount of videos for the same amount of money to start. And that's like kind of a big deal when you're starting a new channel, especially when
it's
you're
a
fully outsourcing
huge deal.
it. I think the easiest thing to do though, in some circumstances, so let's say you want to do a channel that's like faceless or you want to do an automated channel, but you don't have a lot of funding to work with. You could try to do the voiceover yourself to save on that part and then just hire the editor.
Yep.
Or just hire the scriptwriter and the editor and then you do the voiceover, right? So it's like you're just reading a script. You don't have to show your face, so that way you don't have to worry about messing up. Like you can just cut the audio. So that's like, there are some shortcuts you can take to start, but.
And you guys did this a fair bit, if I recall. For example, Pat is voicing a lot of those Pokemon videos.
Yeah, so for the first videos on Top 10 Trends, it was me and Pat doing the voiceovers.
Right.
And then eventually we hired this guy Mitch, who's like an actual professional voice artist. But initially it was just us two because like, where can we save money? Like, we don't want to spend a ton of time, but if someone comes to us with a script, we can read it in literally 10 minutes, and then that's that. We can do like 3 of those a day each or whatever, or not even that much. That saves a lot of money over the course of a month.
So you're finding ways to save some money, whether it's doing VO yourself, maybe it's writing a script yourself sometimes, whatever.
As much as you can do yourself, for sure.
So what's the smallest team size you think that you would sort of recommend for getting started in automation? Is it just finding an editor and that's actually enough of a beginning of it, or in order to commit to it, do you need more?
I wouldn't call it automation if it's just you and an editor.
Fair.
Because you're going to be doing, like if the editor's just editing, then you're doing, it depends on how you do your videos, but let's just say it's like a typical listicle format, right? You're doing the script writing, the voiceover, the thumbnail, the title, all the channel management, and then like it's ideally analyzing it and then improving it over time, right? So you're doing like every other job except for the editing, which the editing is probably the biggest piece of the content production.
So what's the next one to go? The next
I would
domino to
say
fall?
the next hardest thing is probably the idea and the script. Like I kind of see in the same way.
And is that the same person that you'd get to do both of those?
It doesn't have to be. Like if you're doing it piece by piece, I would say then the next most time consuming is probably the script or the storyboard or however you formulate. Like there are a lot of videos, like I say script because that's how I've done my videos recently, where I actually like bought a teleprompter and like I find it more efficient to write a script out, read it like pretty much perfect the first time with the inflections I want, as opposed to just looking at the idea I have, like notes, and then trying to regurgitate it and get it so that I don't mess up. Those recordings end up being like 40 minutes versus the actual one where I could do in 10 minutes. So I feel like it's more efficient to write the script. So if you do it that way, like the script will take a while because it's got to be good.
Yep.
And that's like, once you get the script to a point where it's really good, the voiceover is just, it's pretty much just reading it. The ideas can take a while too if you're really doing YouTube correctly, but as a beginner, like if someone's starting out, I feel like just getting the content out is the most important thing.
So if you're not a beginner, let's say you're graduating to intermediate, do you consider the idea of paying someone just for ideas? Like if you've got someone else on scripts, for instance, would you say, yeah, I just need ideas and I'll pay you per idea? Or like, how does that work?
I've never hired someone to do ideas.
Okay.
So I couldn't tell you.
Because I know I've seen Jimmy.
I feel like that's like one of the most exciting things about YouTube for me is like, I want to come up with the ideas. Like that's like the most fun part.
Oh, interesting.
I think one of the most fun parts. I think the idea and then the like final product, seeing what you've built, for me, the most satisfying parts.
Interesting. Yeah, so I've seen Jimmy has posted job postings for ideas people.
Yeah.
And that is genuinely their job description, is to just come up with the bangers that he's going to make.
Yeah.
Which is so insane that we're at a point in
crazy.
the world where that's a job. But it makes total sense because the right idea for him,
yeah.
the right idea can totally make or break a channel or make or break a given video's success. Something that I find interesting about what you're saying about really being loving being part of that ideas process is that I often find that being part of the ideas process is really fun, or the act of editing and recording and all of the creative content in the middle is really fun. But doing both, there's something in your mind that happens with that, and it'd be interesting to see if you agree with this, where there's like a level of overload and you can't pay quite enough attention to one or the other. Like I find this where I'm really trying to cultivate some kind of banger idea or something. And just because in a given moment, it might just be me working on all of that, the to-do list for a real banger gets so long that I'm like, I'm overwhelmed. I'm gonna have to cut corners on certain areas here to get this out of the door.
Yeah.
And I think that's probably something that you've experienced a lot.
I feel like that happens every single video. Like you want to make every video a banger, of course, but I think the difference between Mr. Beast and like a traditional creator is that they go through thousands of ideas and pick one out of maybe, I don't even know, like maybe up to 10,000. Like they go through an absurd amount of, that's not realistic for anything I've ever done. Like there's no way I could come up with that many ideas and only pick one. Like I have to get content out the door eventually. And also he's at the point where the team's so big that, yeah, you can hire like 3 people just to come up with the crazy ideas. And that might just be inspiration for him. Like it might not even be like they go with the ideas. It's like, you know, flying a spaceship to the moon or something like that. And then he comes up with like blowing up a nuke on the moon and this, you know, whatever.
Sure.
And like he like iterates on it in a way that works for them. But for us, it's like more often than not, I'll be coming up with ideas and then I'll think about them for a couple days and then try to iterate on them a little bit, but I'm not going to spend, you know, I don't spend an absurd amount of time going through hundreds of ideas.
Yeah. I think it's also a thing where old YouTube, sort of first generation YouTube folks like ourselves, often back in the day would have been video first, title, thumbnail second. And
I'm still having a hard time breaking that.
Well,
it's really, really hard to do that.
Yeah. But the advice that everyone and their mother gives these days is obviously do the title and thumbnail first, or figure that out first at least, have the clear concept and everything established, and then make the content to fit that. And it makes total sense, but it is harder to switch the way your brain works than people realize. Because so often I am not wanting, like I said, there's either the ideas or there's the creative process. And if I'm really excited about the creative process, a lot of the time, the former just, I'm like, well, I'm going to cut some corners. I'm going to do it afterwards.
Yeah.
And obviously that hurts my content, that hurts my channel, but I think it helps me actually produce. I think if I was totally doing it the other way around, I would be much more stunted in my output.
That's a problem I have. I've done it the other way. Because you're right. The way you're supposed, the better way to do it is you come up with the title and thumbnail first. Like it's been proven. But when I do that, I find that the title and thumbnail sits there for a long time because I'm like, man, that's going to be really involved to pull it off. You know, like it's going to take a lot of work and there's a real good chance that like it's not going to come out exactly how I want it to. And then I get stunned, like you said, you just end up not doing it more often than I'd like to. So I'm like, I'd rather just make the stuff first and then try to figure it out later, which is not the better way to do it. Recently, like, so I do all of my stuff on Trello. Mm-hmm. Over the last 6 months, I've put out 2 videos, like nothing. But my Trello is filled with ideas, like simple, like sample thumbnails of other videos, like the style that I want to use, good titles, like that I've iterated on. I've gone back and changed them like 3 or 4 times, and I'm like, okay, these are good ideas, but I haven't recorded a thing. So it's like, bro, It's tough. It's really tough.
So in building a team out, so you've got people that start to come in to handle some of either the ideas side or the creative side. Maybe it's channel management on the ideas side. I think that's sort of more or less in that same bucket. Or it's editing, it's thumbnail. Oh, thumbnail is a tricky one in itself. But maybe it's editing or it's scripting or things along those lines. At that point, when you've got the machine established, obviously things take a little while to get off the ground usually. It's not going to be overnight success. You're going to have to fail a bunch to figure out what does work and what doesn't. At what point do you say, this channel actually doesn't cut the mustard?
That's tough.
Because you've got 12 channels and you say 10 of them or so are...
So the only two that I can think of that we really gave somewhat of an effort and we pulled the plug on eventually, pretty quickly I would say, is Reddit for You, which is basically it's like a channel where you just go on Reddit and like kind of go through like the memes and like the different posts and stuff like that and kind of react to it and like engage with it and make some kind of entertainment out of other people's entertainment. And I did that channel with another Z House member, Mr. T Lexify. We did that mostly during the COVID period. So I was putting a ton of time into this shit. And I feel like the content was pretty good and the consistency was really good and the edit, like through and through, I feel like the content was well done. Looking back on it now, I realize that the titles and the thumbnails absolutely could have been better, and that's probably why it didn't go as well as I wanted to. And we used a pre-existing channel from another genre, which was a massive mistake that I did not know at the time. So if you're starting a new kind of content, start a new channel. In fact, almost always start a new channel at this point. It's kind of counterintuitive. Like for example, your main channel, Mr. Roth Waffles, doing this stuff on that channel, it might do all right, but it's not going to do nearly as well like over time as it could do on its own. Because you want to build the audience around what the content is you're doing. It's generally like whatever niche you're in, you kind of want to stay in that lane. So we started. It was a previously like a Fortnite clips channel.
Oh, a big pivot.
Oh, absolutely, completely different subscriber base, like completely different type of content. It was terrible, but it had like a couple thousand subs, and so it was already monetized. It was like, oh, let's just do it on that one. Terrible idea.
Yeah.
And in hindsight, I almost think that if I had paid more attention to the thumbnails and maybe even if we just put it on a brand new channel, I actually think it would have done quite well because those videos were. Like I went back and watched a couple. They're entertaining. Like there's no reason that channel couldn't have been like a 100,000 subscriber, 20 to 30,000 view average type channel. But it wasn't. It started out pretty good. We had like a couple videos that did 50 to 100K.
Oh, nice. Okay.
And then it very quickly just fell off.
Do you think the 50 to 100 were because you were pushing those videos on the other channels, so it was like pity views?
We definitely got like some audience crossover, which again, that's another thing actually I wouldn't even do now.
Yeah.
I would never. So like top 10 trends, it worked. Mm-hmm. Reddit for You, it worked to start, and then it fell off, which I think was also detrimental. But for Matt's Crypto, my most recent channel, I didn't tell anyone I was doing it because it's so foreign to the stuff that everyone knows me for. I was like, I'm going to start brand new from scratch, new channel, tell nobody, grow it completely organically. It worked out fantastic. Like it was the best thing I could have done.
I've done the same thing recently.
Really?
I have a secret channel that no one knows about. And it's at like, I think we just hit 350 subs.
Okay.
And I'm like,
dude,
let's go!
There's going to be one video that just hits a couple thousand views, like not crazy. And that's just going to, it's like a snowball.
It's already begun. So I started the channel and I posted, one of the first videos I posted is still the most popular video. It's got like 8K or so.
That's great.
And I was like, oh, there's something here. Like I did it completely as a test. It was not intended to continue forever.
Right.
But I posted the video and it did pretty well. And I was like, okay, this has an audience then. Because sometimes, and I think this is an entire podcast topic in itself, but as a YouTuber, you're constantly looking at different genres as markets of attention, right? And if you're in a position where you're looking at Fortnite and you're saying, well, that wave is massive, and so there's obviously views to be had there, that's great. But if you're a small business that sells some kind of strange arcane product, you might find, like for example, I know there are channels out there that do office chair reviews exclusively and the videos bang.
Yeah.
They do tier lists, they'll sort of personify and characterize the different office chairs, they'll break down things that are completely sort of tangential to what you'd imagine would be in an office chair review, but it means the content is really engaging. They bang. People just watch whatever stuff on YouTube,
I just
right?
came across on my homepage the other day a guy that does lawnmower videos.
There you go.
Like client lawnmower. And the thumbnails are actually terrible. But this video had 4 million views. And I was like, what? That's a whole channel.
So that's the thing.
Like Phil the lawnmower guy.
This guy, Phil has done a great job of finding a market that is most likely really untapped. It's like an underexplored market. But he would have never known that existed unless he just put a lot of content out and saw. And that's one of the things I love about this platform is that there are so many little gold mines everywhere. And if you stumble into one, and this happens within genres as well. So within Fortnite, it might suddenly get really big to do one kind of content. For the Call of Duty Zombies example that both of us are very familiar with, at one point, lists became really, really big. Lists are obviously always big on YouTube, but lists became big. But then the way that lists were big has transformed over time. So now there's formats like people doing things over 24 hours, let's say, or using every gun in the game or something like that. And so it's still a list format. It's still a sequential format in that sense, but the type of content has evolved. But you can iterate 1,000 times, like 10,000 times on your channel, making different videos and still be finding new gold mines and new markets in this way. And so that's what this totally separate channel is that I've started.
I want to know what it is now.
Well, I'm keeping it separate because I don't want people to listen to this, for instance, and go over to it being like, oh, well, it's a Milo thing, so I should go take a look. Yeah. Because that will kill the channel. And I know that will kill the channel.
Yeah, like, sorry guys, but we don't want you.
Yeah. I mean, it's true. And I say this all the time. And so I was having a conversation. I'm doing a bunch of creative ideation and just production for Pipeline right now. Pipeline is one of the leading creator development platforms on the internet. They do creator coaching and everything they do is focused on accelerating the growth of creators, right? I invested in them a few years back and love the company, love what they do. With their main channel on YouTube, they've got a lot of OBS tutorials, things for beginner streamers, beginner creators, YouTube tutorials, stuff to lay a groundwork, a bedrock for creators to launch their new careers on, right? Mm-hmm. But this podcast, for instance, is not aimed at someone that is just starting a channel. Like we are intentionally, or I'm intending to have more technical conversations that assume a certain layer of knowledge has already been established and that you are of a certain kind of category of person, right? And so even there, a beginner creator that's aspirational and a more established creator that's trying to stay up to date with the industry and new kind of waves of attention markets or whatever it might be, those even might be different channels. Like they might not fit so well on the same place. And they're so closely related, but at the same time, you've got to think, well, is the person that's going to engage with a podcast for 2 hours the same person that's going to watch a 10-minute OBS tutorial? And I think that's a completely different person. I don't think that's the same person at all. So we used to both be in a position where people would always advise us with these sort of new projects, oh, just keep it on the same channel, just diversify, right? Whereas these days, I think diversification, not only is it really difficult to do, but it just hurts your chances of success. Is that fair?
On the same channel, you mean?
On the same channel.
Oh, yeah. I think it's like a absolute no-no at this point.
Right. And so it makes me wonder, okay, well, I play a video game on my channel. Does that mean every other game that I play that's got a significant market of people that watch that content should be on a different channel?
The problem with that is like, it's not the same as starting up a whole new channel is a whole bunch load more work than just putting it on the channel you already have now.
But is it one-time setup work?
If you're gonna do one video, no, I don't think it's worth it. If you're gonna do 20 plus videos, yeah, it's worth it.
The hard work, I mean, is done once in terms of setting the channel up, like getting your banner, avatar, getting all the metadata sorted, getting your channel defaults, getting your
that's true.
Channel
unless it's like so different that you need a different kind of editor or your process for it is different than your other stuff. Yeah,
because that's something I've gone back and forth on so much, and I started a Halo channel just before Halo Infinite came out because I was like, this game's going to be the biggest thing in the last 20 years of gaming. Yeah. Obviously, that didn't go anywhere. I haven't uploaded on it since probably launch day.
I think expectations ruin games so big.
Yeah.
I think I can't remember the last time a A1 game had like high expectations coming in. I feel like that ruins it off the bat.
Certainly in terms of content, 1,000,000%. I think that so Elden Ring would be an example that would come to mind.
Oh, okay.
Very high expectations and it delivered really well. But yeah, I totally take your point.
For content.
Elden Ring is sadly an anomaly as opposed to the way things are, and that's not great, right? But getting back to the sort of channel positioning thing, I think you end up in an interesting position with short form content these days as well, where it's like, okay, everyone is blowing up a TikTok account, it feels like, or everyone's like, oh yeah, YouTube Shorts is the next big thing. Look at how many subscribers I got on YouTube Shorts. But what I don't see a lot of people talking about is the fact that a lot of these channels will wave their number of subscribers derived from YouTube Shorts in your face and say, look how successful I am. But they have not yet cracked the code on long form. So it's a Shorts channel.
Yeah.
And they try and post a long form video, and those viewers don't have that kind of attention style to fit the long form content. And so it bombs completely.
Also, so I actually just ran into 2 channels just like this.
Okay.
Because there was a reply on Twitter from someone, and I looked at his channel, and he's got 4.7 million subscribers.
Awesome.
And it's like someone that probably follows me for a long time because he seemed like he was in the zombie space or whatever. And I reached out to him in DM and was like, dude, this is insane. Like, how long have you been doing this? And I looked at his channel. It's all shorts.
Yeah.
He's doing like 150 million views a month on shorts. And I was like, can I ask you some questions that you like personal questions essentially. And he's like, yeah, go for it. So I was like, do you make enough money for this to be like a full-time job? Like, obviously you're doing really well in the views and your sub count is like way bigger than anything I've ever done. But realistically, like, he's posted 4 videos, like long form videos now, and they all have about 20K, which is not too bad. But for 4.6 million subscribers, you'd be like, oh my God, that's terrible. But I kind of expect it to not do well because like all of his viewership and all of his subscribers are from people just coming through the search algorithm from shorts. So he says he makes good enough money. Like, I think right now you can kind of predict what people make on shorts because it's pretty standard between like 6 cents and maybe 9 cents per 1,000 views. So for him, I did the math, it's like 7 to 9K roughly, somewhere in that ballpark.
For 100 million views.
Yeah,
150 million views.
Well, yeah, like between 100 and 150 million. And then the other guy, he's like, you should do videos. I was like, give me some sauce. Like, how did you get into this? Like, what's like, give me the details here. Cause I haven't done shorts at all, really. He's like, you should do videos like this other guy. His name's Cobuzio.
Okay.
Looked into him. Also does shorts, but he also does long form that's very similar to like reaction style to his shorts. And his videos do between 100,000 and 1 million views on long form. And it's all coming from shorts. Damn. He's got like 6 million subs. He does 500 million views a month.
What?
The only thing I don't like about the whole view thing with that is like, you don't really know what's from long form, what's from short form. So you don't really know how well the channel's doing. Like, as a business, I'd say, because like the long forms are making all the money. For someone like him, you know, if you're doing 200 plus million views a month, then yeah, you're going to earn pretty good money on shorts. But relative to what that would be in long form, it's like peanuts.
Hey guys, just jumping in here to say I hope you're enjoying the podcast so far. If you're listening on a platform that supports reviews, I'd really appreciate if you dropped us a review just to let us know that we're going in the right direction and you want more content like this. It's one of the best ways to help us out, and while we're trying to help you as much as possible, it would really mean a lot if you did the same in return. No pressure though. If you don't like it, sorry, we'll try and do better. With that out of the way, let's get back to the podcast. Oh, if you're earning 7 to 9K a month on 100 million views,
it's terrible, but at the same time, like for most creators, that's pretty solid. That's like pretty substantial income, I would say.
Yeah, but 100 million views is more than pretty solid. That's a
a
real
ton
milestone. That's crazy high.
Yes. And the content style he's doing, no disrespect to him, it's like very easy to do stuff. It's literally OBS vertical format, his webcam reacting to like other TikTok clips.
That's how the majority of shorts channels that I see blow up. It's simple.
Yeah.
I don't see a huge number of shorts channels that are blowing up because they're putting a lot of technical time into the edit. I think Ali A posted a short the other day, and I think his editor did a tweet about it just because it was #1 trending for like 48 hours or something. And someone asked how long it took him to edit, and he was like, 3 hours. And that video is going to go mega. It's probably going to get like 20 million views on that one video for 3 hours of work. That's outrageous.
The viewership is definitely like the return is there, but I do think the shorts revenue is going to grow for sure.
I think it is.
I don't know how much more it will grow, but it's definitely going to grow. And the fact that you're making money on it at all is like significantly better than TikTok already. But yeah, from like a traditional YouTuber, it's like, man, 100 million views and you're making 7K. It's like,
yeah, you're getting shafted.
I can make more than that on
like 100 times less than you should be making.
Yeah, but I get it. I get why it is like it is.
Oh, of course, 100%.
But it begs the question, like, to me, it's like really driving home the fact that subscribers really don't matter anymore. 4.6 million subscribers is like, for a lot of brands that are not kind of with the times yet, they'll look at that and be like, oh my God, this guy's a huge deal. Like,
celebrity. Yeah.
5 million people subscribe to him, right? Like, he's like a pretty big YouTuber. But realistically, and again, no respect to this guy, I'm not going to name him because I feel bad because he was very nice about like helping me out with what he's doing. But it's low effort content, and I guarantee there's like very few people that would ever recognize him or know who he is exactly. Because they've subscribed to him because they've just seen it on the feed and like they like the kind of reaction style he does maybe, and that's that. But they're not engaging with him long form and like really.
His brand isn't sticky yet. It will get there if he keeps going.
I think, but the transition to long form, that's where it's like, that's where the strategy I think is really going to come into play here for that kind of stuff. I
think basically
the one guy's done it pretty well so far.
Yeah, it sounds like he's
done it pretty well.
I think using them as a funnel to just get eyeballs on your brand and your content and your channel and just get interaction with your channel can be really, really powerful. I think that's where a lot of the true value is, because 100 million views, but it only earns you 7, 8, 9K is not necessarily going to justify the amount of effort that you're going to be putting in, even if it's easy content. I'm imagining he's putting out a lot of videos and he's really thinking about it 24/7. And the real juice is going to come when he finds ways to point those people towards the long form stuff and to start building that brand in a way that is more sticky and does retain those eyeballs a bit more rather than just constantly getting new people. I'm curious with the subscribers thing, do you, when you're like, if you were starting a new channel now, would you just ignore the sub count? Because you say that it means so little these days.
I feel like for a shorts channel, maybe it's less relevant because he's getting like 20,000 subscribers a day, which is an insane amount of growth.
Yeah.
But it's not like you said, it's not translating to what you typically expect. 20,000 subscribers who, I think the mindset I have is like, if someone clicks subscribe, they intend to watch more videos of you as you post them in the future. Like there's some idea that they're subscribing to you, that they hope they'll see your feed, your videos in their feed on their homepage, wherever again. They're not going to necessarily go to their sub feed and like click on your name and then go to the channel, but it's like, hey, it's almost like a thumbs up for the whole channel.
Yeah, it's an intent to watch more.
Yeah, exactly. But for shorts, I don't really know exactly why people subscribe for shorts because I don't feel like that's the case at all. And the numbers back that sentiment. Even the shorts, like he'll have shorts that get 3 million views and they'll have shorts that get 20,000 views. Those people aren't coming back to watch. You know what I'm saying?
So at one point, I don't know if this is still the case, but at one point, a short subscribe didn't sub you to long form, as far as I'm aware. So it may be that is just sort of how things started. And then since then, people have just not done a good job of converting those folks that are getting those long form notifications. But I think a lot of it is mainly because of just the viewer habit. Because if you're watching just shorts, if you're just a TikTok kind of person, you might not actually watch a lot of YouTube. You might just watch TikTok.
Yeah.
And so at that point, you're never going to see the long form thing because it's never going to appear in your shorts feed, right?
Right.
So that's I think part of it. The point you raised about brands misassociating subscriber count with value is so interesting because recently another one of these little business projects that I've been exploring is helping build out the creator relations strategies and teams for a couple of new sort of startup game studios and just helping them navigate the creator space. Like, what the hell do we do there? We know it's powerful. How do we dig into that. And you'll look at a lot of the influencer finding tools that exist to find people to work with for brand deals and for influencer campaigns, for influencer marketing. And they categorize people in more or less the following way. 0 to 100 subscribers, let's say, nano influencer. 100 to maybe 500 or 1,000, micro influencer. 1,000 to 10,000, small. 10 to 100K, medium. 100 to 1 mil, large. 1 mil plus, celebrity. And so they're looking at, obviously, the channel stats that you have, and they are looking at, for example, the performance of the last couple of videos or the last month of videos or whatever it might be. Different platforms do it differently. But part of the way they're weighing the payment calculation in is based on subscriber count. It's categorizing you as a celebrity if you've got over 1 million subs, which would be an insane proclamation to make for this guy that you're talking to, who's blown a channel up and, don't get us wrong, is doing so well. That is a massive achievement. But from a brand's perspective, to say, oh, he's a celebrity therefore, and is therefore going to have the sort of celebrity product selling power and converting power is insane.
Yeah, the clout is not there.
Right, exactly. It's like subscriber count did used to be a clout measure.
I would say even under 1 million, I would say is not even medium size at this point. Like, I wouldn't even call them an influencer if they're under 10,000 subscribers. I don't think you're really influencing much, to be honest.
I so disagree. That's interesting.
Really?
Yeah. Because I very, very strongly believe, I mean, so...
Are you just salty because you have 350 subs and you're not an influencer yet?
No, I've read the reports on the whole industry. So much of the industry, the spend that goes into it, like content creation and the entire creator economy, something like $120 billion industry right now. Of gaming, I think it's about 20 billion. It might be like 19, 20, something like that. So within that, the majority of spend is the micro influencers. It's actually much smaller.
It's like a volume thing?
Yeah, basically.
Okay. I can get behind that.
It's also because so much these days brands are rotating to paying people for UGC, user generated content, and are repurposing that on their main channels. So the actual users platform doesn't matter at all. They could have one subscriber, but they could still sell something to a brand for $10,000 because the brand knows that content, in the same way that you have a production company where you might make an ad for a company, they could get that from some random influencer in their bedroom and pay a fraction of the price, but still have something really effective because less produced content also works so well on platforms that are short form focused, TikTok, YouTube Shorts, etc.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of influencing power for people that don't have influence these days, which is really interesting. But even if you do have a little influence, you also typically will have a more niche audience. So you'll typically, with a smaller channel, let's say, for example, this isn't it, but let's say my side project channel was about Sunday League football matches, right? So the sort of lowest tier of professional football, where no one's really interested. There's not a lot of advertising spend that exists in that space, but there's still a group of people that will go to a game on a Sunday and watch a match, right? If I have a channel that's 500 subscribers, but it's all about Sunday League games, those people are so valuable to specific brands, like certain brands that want to work exclusively with folks that are interested in the Sunday League can't target those people easily through your Facebook ad buckets. Like, it's nowhere near as easy, but if you've got a channel that has a track record of getting 500 views every single time they go to a game, that's 500 people that may well want to buy that product or may be infinitely more interested than a channel that they're just, or sorry, not a channel, marketing funnel that they're hoping is going to find those people, but they have to sort of optimize themselves. So that's where I think micro influencers and nano influencers really shine, because they're a window of opportunity for a brand, and also often are really cheap. And so a brand might come in with an entire quarter, their marketing budget might be, let's say, 10K or something, like not a lot at all. And if you're going with an established channel, that's just not going to get you a lot of content. You might get a video or two out of that with big YouTubers that are looking for sort of dedicated videos or even just with integrations. So if you can get 2 hopeful integrations with big channels, or you can get 200 integrations with small channels that are all targeted on your niche, assuming there are that many of those channels, which there usually aren't, which is why they're even more valuable. But if you can do that, then you're often going to go with a cheaper option that gives you more spread. It's more scattershot, but there's more room for one of those to pop off as well.
Yeah.
So that's something I've seen a lot recently, and it's been interesting as well for me. And I don't know if you've done much of this with your channels, but finding ways when I'm selling myself to a brand and trying to upsell them on different aspects of what I can offer them, rather than it just being a video. In the past, I might have said, do you just want some social media coverage as well? Do you want a tweet? Do you want an Instagram story? Those sorts of things. Whereas these days, I'm pulling all the levers to try and figure out how I can sell them stuff. So I'm like, okay, do you want licensing rights? What territories do you want those in? How long do you want them for? Are we targeting specific like languages here? Do you want dubbed versions of this content? Are you looking to repurpose these on your own channels or only certain ones of your own channels? How can I, essentially, how can I look at all the other ways that a brand would normally operate and all the other things a brand would have budget for and say, okay, well, you've got a 10K marketing budget, right, for influencer marketing, but you have a 500K budget for marketing in general. So can I nibble somewhere else? I'm curious if that's something that you've done very much with your YouTube channels.
No.
No, okay.
You became a lawyer, Milo, just now. What territories is this legal in?
Dude, it's so important though. And
nice.
This is,
yeah, you're opening my eyes right now for sure.
Right, but this is something that I imagine, and if you haven't done it yet, I'd really recommend, but I'd imagine there's a lot of opportunity for you to do with your production company, because with your production company, similar to a YouTuber, at the end of the day, a brand is coming to you. They want some kind of creative product made. You have the expertise, the experience, the technology, and the means to make that happen. And so that's what they're paying for. But I feel like there's room within that for Playback, your production company, to be slowly but surely become more of an umbrella service provider where you can say, okay, well, we can make you an ad, but also we can do all these other sort of spin-off services that are totally in line with the core vision of whatever that thing is, but that aren't just the singular production of it. And I'm curious if that's something you've done much.
Yeah, we haven't done it on this level. I see what you're saying. Like, you can even be, I don't know if it gets as far as being the liaison between the client and an influencer, like a micro influencer or something like that.
Totally.
So we make the content, or we help make the content, and then we also help find the people that are going to like push it out, or work with those people to help make the content for whatever it is you want to do.
I mean, let me interrupt you here. Even better, what if you have a network of influencers, micro influencers that you already work with? So you become an agency in this sense.
Yeah.
And you already work with them. And then whenever you work with a brand, you say, okay, well, we can offer you this regular production. And that's the high quality Team Playback stamp of approval. But at the same time, we can also offer you 500 pieces of UGC from our network of high quality micro influencers that we already work with and retain. Like, is that something you could ever see yourself doing?
We haven't explored it, and I'm not sure that's really the realm of what I want to do. Mm-hmm. I mean, could we do it? Yeah, sure, could do it. I definitely think we could do it.
Is it just not creatively interesting to you?
I don't know. I've just never had the idea to try it.
Fair.
The only other thing we did do that was somewhat along those lines is that we would offer like YouTube consulting alongside production.
Love it.
So there were several channels we did that for. So Amanda Steele is one of them, Tara Lowens, Austin Eckler, and this other girl, Alicia. She's an OnlyFans model. Mm-hmm. So we'd shoot the content with them, and then we'd also essentially manage their YouTube channels. So it was easy for us to be like, hey, let's shoot it this way. Like, let's do this. This is an idea. Let's try this. We'd shoot it, edit it, and like manage the content in terms of posting it. And sometimes we'd even do thumbnails and everything. So we kind of like, we're a full house, or like a full service. I don't even know. I guess an agency that does like the YouTube side of all of their production. I don't know if we really cracked the code on that though, because in working with Tara Lowens, like he started out making like, he was making like nothing when we started working with him. And I think it was because he wasn't focused on YouTube. And I was like, hey, you don't have to focus on it. Let us get like 2 or 3 shoots with you every once in a while, and we'll do the rest. Because he had all these podcasts he had been on that we could repurpose the content for. We were able to take, in the first month, we made him $26,000 off of old content that he had already posted. So I was like, that should speak with what we can do here. If we actually get to shoot new stuff, like, can you imagine what we could do? Because he's a big name. And he just didn't have any interest in doing that. I'm like, bro, what? Like, we're making you, we just like, I don't know, like
money from nowhere.
40x your income on this. That you've done nothing. You've literally had to do no work. And we've 40x'd it, and you're just like, nah, I'm good. I'm like, no, dude.
Help me understand why.
I don't know. I don't really get a clear answer. I only ever talked with his management, and she also did not understand. Like, she's like, I'm trying, and I was like, there's only so much I can do. Like,
Fair enough.
It is what it is. If they're not interested, they're not interested. But,
yeah, I guess he had his reasons. Whatever they.
Yeah, I mean, he's a pro athlete. He's Hall of Fame. Like, so I'm sure he's got other opportunities that are going on, but. That was one of the examples that I'm like, man, I really see how this can work, and I also am passionate about it because it's an area that I like football. I love. Amanda Steele was she's like she already had 2.5 million subscribers, was huge back like a decade ago, and I think her content just never really evolved to like the newer style. She also has a baby now, so like she's got stuff going on in her personal life that was she got a clothing company, so like again, the focus wasn't YouTube. It felt like. And so that didn't end up working out either. But the other girl, Alicia, we started her channel from scratch.
Cool.
She basically hired us. She's like, I don't know how to do YouTube, but I'm doing OnlyFans and I do a bunch of other stuff. Can I like hire you to like figure it out for me? So I was like, here's the plan. Here's what you're gonna do. You can record all these on your own. We didn't record it for her. We just edited it for her initially. And man, let me tell you, it's like the David Dobrik model. Like the videos don't monetize on YouTube well at all because of the kind of content she's posting. It's like, bikini try-ons and stuff like that. But the conversion.
Yeah.
Oh, man. And the videos, even though they don't do well advertisement-wise, she'll hit like a 1 million view video every couple of videos. No problem. Like they just pop off.
And that's a channel from nothing.
From zero. And she got like 100,000 subscribers now in maybe 6 months. And I don't know, she's doing like several million views a month.
Damn.
So just all those eyeballs funneled, like, even if like 1% funnel to her other stuff, like OnlyFans, and she has other businesses too. That's where she's making all her money. So it works it's like a marketing vehicle. So it's definitely something we've done, but we haven't done it. I don't think we've ever like hit a home run on it yet because of circumstance. Like Alicia, it definitely worked, but the thing with her is like now she's just doing it on her own. Like she doesn't need us anymore, right? Like I taught her the process, like I showed her the strategy, set it up, and now it's moving. Like all she's got to do is record it. She got another editor that's cheaper than us. Like I get it. Like that's how that goes. That's the only thing with the YouTube stuff. It's like once you teach them the tools, if they do it well and they stick with it, they don't need you anymore.
Oh, this is one of my biggest.
It's tough.
Like pain points with building a team on YouTube. That exact process of being in training mode with someone, but worrying that
they're gonna take everything and just
walk.
Bye-bye. I'll do it myself.
Yeah, and the thing is so I know with a lot of my main channel stuff, there's techniques and strategies that I'm using there that even if someone else learns them, you can't replicate them because so much of those things are reliant on my brand and the audience I've already built. So I recognize that I'm sort of safe creatively, but that doesn't mean that person wouldn't be more successful for themselves owning everything they do and doing all their output compared to just being paid to edit or to run a channel or whatever it might be. And that's, I think, where the key sort of distinction is even if you aren't expecting them to just become you, like they don't need to clone your YouTube channel, they don't need to actually sort of occupy the same space as you at all, but just by teaching them some of these skills that we've obviously built up over the last decade can mean that they can then transition into working with anyone in the space in whatever role you've built them up in. And there's nothing you can really do about that. And it's such a rare skill to find when someone has that skill set. So you become a hot commodity very, very quickly.
Yeah. I also don't think it's an issue at all. I think it's great that
I mean, it's
that people can learn. Like take them under your wing and they learn from you, and then they do their own thing and they're successful. I think that's happened multiple times, and I think it's great. The only problem is that when you have so much turnover, like you need help on your stuff too. It's like you're so like I've had so many editors that are like really good, and then they go on and like either work with someone else or they do their own thing, and I'm like, I'm so happy for you, but also like now I got to find someone and go through all the steps again to get to like where we really have good chemistry and like they understand like the kind of style that I want to go for, and like they're also pushing things creatively that I'm like, wow, this is so much better than even I thought it would be. Like I didn't envision that at all, but I love it. And that just takes time, and then you have to keep finding new ones if they keep moving on.
Yeah, it's you put it well there. It's definitely not something that I think is bad for that person. I don't resent them in any way. I'm happy for their success whenever it happens. The example that comes to mind first is a guy called Bam, who's done editing for everyone in the zombies community, Noah and myself and JC and Lex and probably you at some point, I'm not sure. So many folks. Bam like blew up his channel this year and is now, I think he's got like hundreds of thousands of subscribers if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
And I'm so happy for Bam because he's got so much talent, man, and such specific expertise on making the content that he's made for us all over the years. But at the same time, I'm like, well, this sucks, dude. Because I need to find someone that's Bam level now, and Bam is few and far between.
Exactly. They've become better than you. It's like, oh man, like now you're the hot commodity that I need.
Yeah, man. My Padawan is now my master. And I'm like, well, time to find a new Padawan somewhere. Yeah. But then you end up feeling like you're in this perpetual loop of training and then you get to the sort of place where you want to be, but because there's momentum there, they see the value in the momentum for themselves, and so it's a churn that's hard to.
It's tough. You have to be so important that, like a Mr. Beast, or I guess even I think Bam still works with Noah.
Yeah, probably.
So like you have to be at that level where it's like either they're paying super well, or they really want to work on it, or like they believe in the vision, or whatever. Like there's I don't know. It depends on the situation, but
so something I have seen more and more is equity being part of editor agreements, and that, to speak to your point that you had with Pat, means that you're much more value aligned, because in a situation where Bam maybe is blowing up his personal channel, but this is hypothetical, I don't know, but let's say Bam owned 10% of the revenue that was generated on his content output on Noah J456, which is a 5 million subscriber channel that does loads and loads of views, does really well. Even with that 100,000 subscriber channel, the upside is still so going to be weighted in Noah's favor there, in terms of keeping Bam hooked on making Noah J videos.
Yeah. We actually did that with Top 10 Trends.
Did you?
Yeah. I think it was for Mitch mostly. Yeah, like he's like.
So your voiceover editor, because it's
like they want to keep being able to, like as a freelancer or creative in general, like you want to keep progressing and growing in what you're doing. I think that's natural. So at some point, it's like if we're paying you the same flat rate, and like it's just like kind of like a machine at that point. Like you want to have some level of growth. It's like at a certain point though, I can't pay you $1,000 for a voiceover. Like, it just doesn't make any sense. Or even several hundred, like for a YouTube video, it just doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
So I was like, hey, like let's just do this instead. Let's make it incentive aligned where on the videos you do voiceovers for that get X amount of views, you earn like a scaling percentage of however well they do.
Walk me through what that scaling percentage looked like.
I don't remember exactly, but I want to say like there was a threshold. So like if it did more than 250,000 views up to maybe 500,000 views, I want to say it was like maybe 5%.
Sure.
And then from 500,000 to 1 million was like 7.5. 1 million plus was 10, I think. Somewhere in that ballpark. So if a video popped off, he made like thousands on it usually. Between like the flat rate we pay him no matter what, and then the bonus like equity, I guess, or the commission or whatever you want to call it, it would be like well worth putting the extra effort in to make it try to pop off. And that worked for a while. I think that's definitely something you can try to do with valuable members of your team. We haven't gotten to that point anywhere since.
If you were starting a channel today with the intention of automating the whole thing, would you jump in with equity sooner?
If you know the person you're working with is like brings that much value to the table, absolutely.
Okay.
I think that makes so much sense. But if it's someone new or someone that's like, not as important to the operation as you see it, then maybe not right off the bat, but keep it on the table. Like, I think that's always something that's important to like, you have to put yourself in their shoes, right? If I'm working for someone else, I want to be able to like have like high ceiling or no ceiling, ideally.
Yeah.
Where it's like, I can really become like, if I want to go all in on this with you, I can get some level of like equity where it feels like I'm really a part of this thing too. It's not just like a consistent payment for output. So I think that's always on the table for anyone that I'm working with. Actually, one of the editors that I found for Matt's Crypto initially was like, he was in college, brand new to editing, more or less, had no idea how to like, anything about finance or anything like that. So like really taken like from day one.
Yeah.
But he got so good so fast. I was like, and he's working in Final Cut, which is not common at all. It makes things a little difficult sometimes, but it's incredible how quickly he grew and also adapted to the financial terms and like the stuff I was doing, the NFT stuff. He like got with it very quickly and got very good very quickly. And then after about a year of working with him, he's like, dude, I'm gonna do my own thing. Like, I don't really have interest in this kind of content anymore, which I get. It gets kind of monotonous at some points, but I was like, dang, dude, like we had a thing. Like, you were my guy. You're so good at this. And like, he wanted more money, which I was like, I'll pay you more because you're that good. Like, it makes sense. But then eventually he's like, it just became about the content. He didn't care about the content anymore. And I'm like, I can't argue that. Like, if you don't want to edit that, that's the worst job in the world. So he moved on. But then recently he's come back and I've been talking to him. He got interested in Marvel Snap like I did. And I was like, hey, you want to edit these Snap videos for me? But he didn't really seem interested in it. But then I approached him this idea. I was like, hey, I want to do like more video essay type content.
Okay.
My plan was to do it on Matt's Crypto and keep it finance adjacent. But a lot of the topics are just not closely enough related to the finance stuff. So I was like,
they're not finance or they're not NFTs?
No, they're not NFTs at all.
Okay,
it's like the idea is like most of the ideas I have are there's a financial component to them, but they're driven by like a popular either YouTuber or celebrity or athlete. Like they're a prominent name, and then like coming up with like how they made it to where they are.
Sure. Okay. Of course. Yeah.
Kind of almost like biographies, essentially, like video biographies. But my initial plan was to have it be more finance focused, of like the storyline be more finance driven, and like the money behind it, like how they got to where they got, and like how they carved their path. But I talked to him about it, and he's like, I don't know if it's gonna fit. And I was like, dude, you know what? Do you want to make? Because he was gonna make his own content, but he never did. He had all these ideas, and he's like, I didn't like how they came out. Like I just never got started. And I'm like, yeah, that's how it works, bro. Like, you need someone else pushing you. Trust me.
Yeah.
I was like, do you have any interest in like maybe putting this on a new channel and just going 50-50 on it? Like you edit them, I do the video ideas and scripts, you edit them, and then we kind of do the management together. Like we can kind of come up with the new ideas together as we go. And he's like, I've never been more excited in my life.
Oh, dude.
And I was like, let's go, sweet. Okay, so we're gonna do this thing where it's kind of like Pat, where it's 50-50. We're gonna see how it goes. Pat did another channel with our other editor, Roman, the Nifty Smith channel, which also popped off with the same exact concept. Roman came to him as like, hey, I want to do a Minecraft channel. If you record all the videos, I'll do all the editing. 50-50, we'll do it. And it works. I think that format really works, especially early on. If you go half and half, you're both equally incentivized. You're both good at one part of like the main parts of what it takes to make a great video. And then you can also push each other. It's like, he texted me this morning or last night. He's like, hey, how's that script going? And I was like, crap. All right, I gotta get it going. You're right. So we'll see how it goes.
I love that. I think what you've really smartly done there is you've said, okay, there are those two buckets that we talked about at the beginning: the ideation, channel management kind of side, and the edity, creative-y kind of side. And you're saying, well, in a given instance, I might like to do one or the other, but doing both is really difficult. But if I can be maximally aligned on doing just one of them and have someone maximally aligned on the other, you're in a really good place. And if he's saying, I've never been more excited in my life, that is the best.
I
When
know.
your colleagues are saying that to you,
It kind of
oh
like
my
just
God.
fell into it because we were just talking. And I was like, "What do you think about doing these kind of videos, editing them for my other channel?" And he's like, "We talked about it more." And I'm like, "Man, I hate to make another channel, but that is probably what makes most sense in this situation." So we're gonna give it a shot. And he's like, ever since we kind of agreed on it, like somewhat, I was like, "Let's sleep on it, see what we think." He's been very excited about it, which is exactly what you want going into a new channel.
So when's the first video coming out?
I don't know. I feel like, so we talked about it realistic. I was like, realistically, if we can get one video out a month to start, that's a win. Because I anticipate these being much more like energy and time put into one video and not nearly as much quantity. And I also really do want to continue back on Matt's crypto. So I recognize like doing 2 channels in any capacities is very difficult. Doing more than one thing at all is difficult.
Yeah.
So,
But also, I think for you, and certainly for me, is essential. Because I think if you've got one thing going, you get bored real fast.
I really do.
Yeah. And this is something I've known about you, I mean, since I've known you, that you've constantly got a new project on the back burner or cooking in your brain that you're ready to start working on, new business, new channel, new whatever it might be. And I've always really looked up to you in your ability to not have any fear of the result and not overthink the result at all and to just act. I think that
I definitely do have some fear.
there is, okay, I'm sure that is there, but you push through it so consistently. And that is what I really, really respect. And I respect it even more so when I compare it to myself and the way I behave and have acted and built my businesses over the years, because I know how difficult it can be when you're a perfectionist and you're trying to make everything exactly how you want it to be, and you're trying to optimize in all these different areas, how much friction that can introduce into the process to the point that you just don't act. But I've seen you act so much over the years, and it's been, I've seen that and gone, I need to do more of that. Dude, I really need to.
I'm gonna be honest with you, this feels like the exact opposite of how I feel right now. I feel the perfectionist attitude way more recent. I don't know what happened. I really don't know what happened. I feel like it's the exact opposite of what it used to be. What you're saying, you see me as, I don't feel at all.
Which is funny because
I feel like I've become a perfectionist so much so that I've not done anything really consistent lately.
Right.
Like I'm just like, it's gotta, I know what the formula is. And I get so honed in on like, it's gotta be this way. And then it's like, it's not good enough yet, so I can't start. It's bad. And I recognize that's so bad. Like perfectionist attitude in this space is the worst thing.
It'll kill you because you won't stop.
Because think about it, bro. I just told you the Dad Avengers video was like, it wasn't like a big deal. It was just like, it's just like another one of the, ideas that are coming up. And it just happened to be like the right thumbnail at the right time, the right piece of content, and 12 million views is like huge.
Yeah.
Like massive. And there's a couple videos that happen like that where they're not perfectionist pieces. They're not ever supposed to be big ideas. They're just another idea, and they just happen to work really well because of the way things came together. So it's so weird being aware of all of it and conscious and saying it out loud and still not pushing through it sometimes.
Yeah. And that's where I've been for so long, because I've had my main channel that's been my bread and butter, and I've cherished that for such a long time. But because of that, it's made me feel like I need whatever else I'm doing to reach that level of success like straight away. Or it's not even that I consciously think that. I think it's that subconsciously I'm holding myself to the same standard. And so I haven't been able to push through in any way. So I mean, I totally get what you're saying of how kind of destructive it can be, because internally you've got these two forces fighting against each other. One saying, well, I know what to do here, I just need to do it. And the other saying, yeah, but like putting all the buts in.
I also think because we've been in this space you've been over a decade too, right?
14 years.
Yeah. And we had like some level of success early on, at least like numbers wise. I can't help but feel like that really has messed us up mentally for starting. It's just like, but like I already have done this. Like I've I should be better than this already because I've already been there and I've already grown and I've already did my time kind of thing. Like all these beginners like are blowing past me right now. And it's just like, it's a shitty mentality to have, but I can't help but feel like it's deeply ingrained in me.
I think it's human. I think to reach a certain level of success, and this happens, I think, in all areas, really. If you get a really high-paying job and then you lose it and you have to go back to working in retail or something, you're going to be so depressed. Like, it's going to really mess you up. And it's the same with YouTube channels in their own way, in the sense that if you have a channel that blows up on a given thing, let's say you had a channel that was really focused on Fortnite, and then Fortnite's sort of hype lulled a little bit, and that combined with you just getting burned out or a little less interested in it or whatever, as soon as you try and do something that's more creatively interesting to you and don't get the same level of success, you're going to be like, well, screw this. Like, why would I do anything? Like, why would I even bother at all? Which is an insane outlook to have when you rationalize or when you rationally assess everything, because you might still be able to make good money in other areas, and that still might creatively interest you, but it just might be 20% of what you could have had if you'd kept the Fortnite thing going. And yet, despite all of those reasons to do it, you're like, no, I'm not gonna do anything.
Huh? It's so true.
It's such a painful mindset to be in, and it's so hard to crack. And I think that it happens with creative expression, and I think it happens especially with money earned, and I think it happens with clout. And I think those are sort of the three tiers of things where if you rush ahead in any one of those and then regress, you enter a very difficult mental landscape to readjust to. Because adjusting up is easy, adjusting back down is so hard.
I also can't help but feel like an imposter sometimes when people like will recognize that I have had some level of success. Like if they say like MC Sports Talk, or they'll be like, like just he's the YouTube guy, like whatever it is, little things. It's like, but I'm not that anymore. Like I'm not that guy anymore, and I don't have that relevance anymore. But then there's times where I'll be like out, and it always happens in bulk. I don't know why, but like there'll be like 3 days in a row where someone recognizes me every day, and it's like, why? I am not that guy. It's been like 5 years since I've been that guy. Mentally and like just like, clout wise, like I just don't feel like that person anymore. And it feels like maybe if they're saying I'm that guy, then maybe like I should have that level of entitlement still to some degree. It messes me up, dude.
That's so interesting that you are
like, I was online for the hotel. This dude, first of all, he like stopped what he was doing. He was the only one working there. It was a huge line. Stopped what he was doing to take a picture with me, and the people behind me in the line were pissed because he's like the only guy working it, checking everyone in. They're like, what are you doing? Like, do you not see this line here? Like, it's been forever. He didn't care. He's like, I have to get a photo with this dude. And I was like, this is the coolest moment. But why? Why do you care about me so much? I have done nothing. Like, you're only as good as your last video. You're only as good as your last whatever creative piece. I haven't been that guy in like forever, So that kind of stuff messes with me a little bit, a lot of bit maybe. Like it's like very, very deep subconscious that messes with me, I think. I think that's like weighing, that definitely weighs into why maybe I've gotten the perfectionist attitudes like, oh, like I used to do it so great, Like, why can't I do it that great anymore? Like, why is this new stuff not doing that great? If I feel like I'm progressing and I learn more and I've gotten better, matured, and it's just like, it just takes time. I don't know. Like, it takes time, and it takes, it's a new field, like, so I don't know. It's also so weird talking about it and being aware of it, and like, there's no answer. There's no like I already know how I know how it is. Like, I know how it is from what it should be and what I think it is. Like, and yet I'm still sitting here like
being conscious of the disconnect.
What the heck?
I think the whole thing of being no longer that guy is so interesting, because viewer perceptions of when you are and aren't that guy never align with reality. They are never right. So an example I've given a few times is I went away from YouTube for about 9 months because I just was not doing well with my mental health a couple of years ago. and came back, and the views that I was on the videos that I was posting, they were fine. They weren't sort of crazy, like record-breaking numbers of views, but they were fine, right? And I would have people tweet me through that following year and say, yeah, you've fallen off. Like you've fallen off so hard. Like you're totally irrelevant these days. Like no one cares about you. Because these are the sorts of things that people tweet YouTubers. Thanks. I was looking at my analytics. This was more money than I'd ever made in my life. And they were telling me I'd fallen off. I was like, you just have no concept of how this works, do you? That's crazy. It's great for me, but it's crazy. But similarly with you, you might feel like you wake up one day, or you wake up every day for a month straight, and you're like, I've lost it, dude. I've lost that thing that I was tapping into before. Maybe you just have a run of bad videos, right? And it just makes you doubt yourself.
Yeah.
But then someone comes up to you and they're like, you changed my childhood. Like permanently. Exactly. And
it's like, what?
Like I'm gonna vomit right now. That doesn't make any sense to me. But it's simultaneously the most reaffirming thing, but then also the most deeply troubling thing, because it makes you so aware of that disconnect, like you were saying. And it's when you're aware of it that you enter this uncanny valley in between of, like, left brain says one thing, right brain says another. Viewer says I'm relevant. I don't think I am. Viewer says I'm irrelevant, but then suddenly things are going really well. It's this really strange contrast that I think all YouTubers probably have to go through at various points in their career. And I don't think it ever gets easier.
It hasn't so far.
Yeah.
I feel like we've really gotten aware of it, and we've been able to articulate it pretty well, I'd say. And I know that you get it, and I know that a couple of other guys who feel similarly definitely get it, but it doesn't seem to like ease the issue.
Yeah.
And it's not something that's like actively weighing on me, but it definitely, like when it comes to career thoughts, it's definitely like present, you know?
So maybe we just need to stop caring about.
Well, it sounds like I mean, you've started an unknown entity it seems like you're pretty excited about it. It seems like it's going pretty well.
Yeah.
The first bit is the hardest. Like once you get that first video or two to pop off and get that momentum, I feel like it gets easier.
Yeah. My view for this little secret channel is essentially, I just want to find like one format that works for viral content in that genre. And once I do that, I'm gonna be brainless. I'm just gonna do that ad infinitum for like 6 months. And if I can get the channel to, I think 10K subscribers would put me at large channel size for that genre, because there's not a lot of folks that make that kind of content. But if I can do that just by rinsing a viral, like one format over and over again, then
rinsing a viral.
Dude, it's
milking the viral.
It's exactly how the Shorts guy is building his 100 million views.
It's exactly how it. I'll find channels like there's periods where all the titles are the exact same.
Yeah,
like 40 videos in a row, same title, and it works.
Can you think of an example?
I don't remember what they were. I'm just looking at this one guy's channel that I was thinking about. I don't remember what the title was.
I've seen one channel that had crazy viewership, and it was a channel which was. It's that game or whatever it is where there's a ramp and then a vehicle flies off and it's Will You Survive, right? And it was compilations of those and they all had millions of views. And I was like, God damn, this is... And he's just sitting there in the video, and I'm sure we have some of these for Shorts as well. I'm sure they're banging, but he's just sitting there going, oh yeah, I think I'd be alive at this. Oh no, oh that's gotta hurt. Oh yeah, I'm dead, dude. Bangers, banger.
Dude,
like,
it's just
YouTube is crazy. And I bet that guy in 3 years' time, when that particular content style is a little bit less popular, is going to look back and go, I'm not that guy anymore. But he's so the guy still. He just needs to recognize that he found a viral niche. He just needs to find a new viral niche. These things change.
Have you seen, so I was looking at his Shorts content for my Matt's crypto channel, right? Like finance driven content, and looking at other similar channels, especially ones that my viewers watch. And I stumbled upon one of the channel's Shorts. And this is a strategy I've seen other people do, but in finance, it's so weird. You know the GTA, like driving on the like user created ramps, or like Temple Run? Well, they'll put that in the short just to like maximize retention, because people will watch that and like get captivated by it, and they're just like subconsciously listening to like the actual content. Seeing that next to like Jerome Powell talking about like the US debt ceiling is the most weird thing I've ever seen. It's so weird. And the videos weren't popping off, so I was like, I'm not gonna attempt to try that method. But it's crazy what people will do for the strategy now. Like it's literally half the video is Jerome Powell talking, and the other half is GTA 5, like user-generated ramp racing content.
I love it. YouTube is a hellish dystopia, but it's our dystopia at the end of the day, so can't complain, I suppose. So this has been a fantastic conversation.
Yeah.
Let's leave it on that note. Where can people find you if they want to keep up to date with the many faces, the many guys?
I think the easiest place is just it's Twitter, at Matt Cobuzio. That's pretty
sweet.
Pretty much where I'm at usually.
Okay, it'll be in the show notes. Thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
So hopefully you found this discussion with myself and Matt interesting. As a reminder, if building a team is something that you're interested in doing right now as a content creator, then I've put together a free guide with Pipeline, which you can use to help you do that. It's linked in the show notes or the video description if you're watching on YouTube. Thanks so much. Remember to drop us a cheeky review, and I'll see you next time.